Hi everybody, and welcome to Bring Me Hope Camp. My name is Katie Freebie, and I'm the director of the Dongguan Camp, and I've been with Bring Me Hope since 2013, and since my first camp, I've been extremely passionate about these kids and my deepest desire to see them have successful futures where they know that they're loved. If this is your first time at camp, I want to extend to you a big welcome. If you're a returning volunteer, I want to thank you so much for your commitment in serving these kids, and that I'm so thankful that your passion has continued. If you are stepping into your first week of camp, this video is meant to equip you to be the best volunteer that you can be. To start, let me explain the basics of how camp works. In a moment, you're going to be put into a family group, and this family group is consisted of 2 to 3 volunteers and 1 to 2 kids. And for the week, you are going to be a family. So you're going to do everything together, all the camp activities. And it's your job and your purpose to really love your buddy unconditionally. Our first training session is going to be done by my good friend Judine Irvine. She's going to be teaching you about the rules that we want to encourage the kids to follow while we're in camp. And she's also going to explain the Bring Me Hope policies that we've set in place in order to protect the children. We want to explain why we have these policies, just so that you can willingly and lovingly enforce these rules for the kids.
My name is Judine Irvine. I'm delighted to be here today with the Bring Me Hope Camp. I've been living in China since 2003, on and off, and I've been involved with orphans since that time. So we'll start with rule number 1 for volunteers and translators. Be on time. Being on time is a matter of respect. So we're asking you for the week that you're here to be on time for each of the activities. Cell phones. Don't be on your cell phone during the camp. Just put it away. Television. From the beginning, just make sure your child understands that there is no television. Not in the rooms, not during free time, just no television. Let's make this a time when we're investing personally in the children. Too deep. This is probably the most important and maybe the most difficult policy to enforce and to carry through with. That there always be 2 adults with a child, always. So if your child needs to go to the bathroom, get another adult to go with you. If your partner, your translator, your volunteer is busy, get a staff member to go with you. They'll be happy to do that. If you need to go back to the room for a moment with a child, if they need something in the room, no matter what needs to be done, if you're taking the child out of the group setting, you must have another adult with you at all times. Everyone has their own bed. Families are teamed up before the camp begins to make certain that the adults, the children, the volunteers, the translators, the staff, that everyone has an appropriate room situation and that everyone has their own bed. No one shares a bed except married couples. Stay together. This is really important. Some of our children will have a tendency just to wander off. So it's really important as a volunteer and as a translator, you always know where your child is and stay next to them. Smoking and drinking. 0 tolerance. If you're caught doing either one, you will be asked to leave immediately. When we come together in the assembly room, it's usually pandemonium in the beginning. Everyone is excited and they're just amped and really energetic and ready to do something. So in order to get everybody's attention, Katie will typically go, "Bring me!" And you will all answer, "Hope!" And she'll say it a second time, bring me hope. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And by that time, everybody should be seated on their mats and ready to listen and ready to participate in whatever activity is coming up. So we start with sit nice, please. So they're typically on mats on the floor. So sitting nice is, they can be Indian style or they can be with their feet in front of them. So to sit nice, please means that they're paying attention and ready to go. The second thing we teach them is look at the leader. If you can have a child sit nice, please, and look at the leader, you probably got their attention. The third one we teach is listen to the leader. Listen to the leader. Same thing, we just want them sitting nice, looking at the leader, listening to the leader. We want to teach them to wait your turn, and we do that by having them raise their hand in the assembly. If we ask a question where we're soliciting a reply, we want them to answer the question, we'll demonstrate that. Stay together. Ooh, really important. Some of these kids will have a tendency just to wander off, just to go off on their own. So it's really important that as volunteers and translators, you keep your family unit together at all times. So we have an opportunity to teach them this week to speak kindly, to speak softly. It's a little hard to do, but you'll recognize it individually with your child when it's appropriate to remind them to speak kindly. No hitting. Hitting can be a real problem for these children. They just have little outbursts and they'll whack one another. So we don't allow any hitting.
Our second session of training will be done by Carissa Reeves. You may be wondering, how do I love a child unconditionally, and especially an orphan? Well, Carissa Reeves has plenty of experience with orphans, as she was the director of a foster home for babies, and she has 4 children of her own. She is going to explain from a mother's heart how to be a mom or dad to an orphan for a week. How does this look like? What kind of love does that take? How much patience does that take?
My name is Carissa. I'm not an expert, but I do have some experience that I hope will help to prepare you for the coming week. I'm a mother of 4 children, and for a short time I was the director of a small children's home for orphans here in China. I hope that some of the things I have to say will equip and encourage you, and I want to begin by laying out some expectations for you this week. Our greatest expectation for you is that you'll love someone this week. So love will be our main idea this week. The orphanage directors want us to take excellent care of these children while they're with us. And I say, what could be more excellent than love? The job that you've signed up for will not be easy. It will likely be quite difficult this week. And it's going to require a lot of love. But the job you've signed up for is going to be very rewarding. Many of the children coming this week will be disabled, and I think my friend Josh is going to talk to you about that. What I want to address is something called attachment disorder. I'd like to define it for you, share with you what it might look like, and then talk to you about some ways that we can overcome it. Attachment disorder is a broad term that refers to behaviors that come from a lack of moms and dads in the beginning of life. It leads to an inability to make relationships and emotionally attach to other people. Remember, the children you have this week have been abandoned. They will all display symptoms of attachment disorder. When we see symptoms, we can't provide a cure for them, but we can use love to push past some of these barriers. Our second expectation for you this week is that when you see these symptoms, when these barriers present themselves, you'll push past those with love. Like I said, we cannot provide a cure for them in one short week, but we can expect to see healing in their hearts because we love them. So I want to talk to you for just a minute about what love looks like, because you'll be their parents, and so that's my area of expertise. I want to share with you what unconditional love from a parent might look like. Love is non-threatening, so when you're parenting with unconditional love, it'll be a non-threatening, pure love. Love is listening, so just listening to them talk, listening to their stories, even if you don't understand all of it, will show them love. Love is protecting them from their own emotions, the emotions of other children and caregivers, and sometimes your emotions also. Love is playing with them, and let them choose the game. You might offer them some ideas or provide games that you like to play, but I think just letting them lead and letting them play the things they want to play will be received as love. I think first of all, you can expect them to be very excited to meet you. We can also expect some of them to wake up very early or stay up very late. We can also expect them to cry, and there may not be an explanation for why they're crying. My advice to you is let them cry. If they want to be held, then hold them. If they prefer not to be held, just sit near them. Make sure they know that you're there and that you care. We also expect them to disobey, and so in these moments of disobedience, you just have to be consistent. Make sure that you always follow through and do what you said you were going to do. I know you'll have a great time this week. It's going to be fun, challenging, but ultimately very rewarding and a satisfying experience.
Our last training session will be done by Josh Crandell. He's professionally trained to work with disabilities and has at least 15 years work experience. We are very excited to have him here, and he's ready to train you with all the tools you need to care for these precious children.
Hello there, my name is Josh Crandell, and I want to talk to you today about working with children with disabilities. I've been working with children with disabilities for the past 15 years doing several different things, and I want to share some of that knowledge with you. The first thing I want to talk to you about when you're working with children with disabilities is don't assume they don't understand you. I want you to talk to them like they're normal children. Don't see a disability, see a child that understands the things that you're saying. Okay, you may, and I would say you probably will, have to repeat yourself over and over again. Don't get tired of doing this. It is for their benefit that you repeat. It helps them understand. It helps you to make sure that you're clear. So you will have to repeat yourself when talking to them. Another thing is if they don't communicate back with you, or if they don't communicate back very well. For example, a lot of children with disabilities have trouble speaking or they can't speak at all. Find some way to communicate, whether it's through hand signals that they've learned at the orphanage, or if they do sign language. Try to find something that gives you that connection when you're speaking to them and working with them. Finally, when working with those children, don't try and overhelp them. Don't think, oh, there's a disability here, I need to do all the work for them. No, I want you to let them work as much as they possibly can. The next thing I want to talk to you about is working and dealing with children when they struggle with controlling their emotions or dealing with bad behaviors. Many children with disabilities, especially like autism or Down syndrome, they do not understand how to express themselves. So if they get angry, they may not know how to tell you or show you that they're angry. Instead, what will happen is they try and act out. They may hit you, and that's their way of saying, I'm angry. Instead of, don't get upset with this, I want you to figure out what's wrong. Find what is making them upset, or what is making them angry, or what is making them sad, and fix it. Try to remove the situation, take the child away from what is making them angry in such a way that isn't giving them what they want, but is helping to calm them down so that you can then talk to them again. The next thing I want to talk to you about is when you work with children with disabilities, they're going to be in your personal space. They don't have that boundary of where my space begins and your space ends, and They may be in your face, they may be touching you. You kind of just get used to it. To help them stay clean. You know, a lot of times children with disabilities, they may drool. They may not notice if their fingers are dirty or if they have something on their face. When you're working with them and you're taking care of them, take care of that for them. I want you to give them time warnings before changing activities. Children with autism or Down syndrome, they don't do well if something is taken away quickly. So if you have 5 minutes left in an activity, go up and say, hey, we have 5 minutes left. Get ready to change. And then give them another, hey, we have 2 minutes left. It really helps them prepare their mind for moving on. Okay, now I want to talk to you about working with specific disabilities, some of these disabilities that you may see at the camp. For example, you may be working with one of your children who has autism or someone else's child who has Down syndrome. With autism and Down syndrome, there's some specific needs you need to be aware of. First, don't force one of these children to do anything. They're typically very stubborn, they want to do things their way. You want to make sure they're safe, but don't say, no, we have to move on to this next activity. Don't force that upon them. Guide them into it. Give them those time warnings that I talked to you about. First, I want to talk to you about children with autism. Autism is called a spectrum disorder. It means it ranges from very intelligent to really struggling and not being able to talk at all. And so if you have a child with autism, be aware of their needs. They may not be able to communicate with you. They're the ones who really struggle expressing their emotions. In fact, they have a really bad tendency to not show emotions at all. Things don't upset them as well. The next disability I want to talk to you about are children with Down syndrome. Children with Down syndrome are typically very stubborn. Don't try to force them to do anything. If they don't want to leave a room and they're in a safe environment, let them sit for a few minutes, for 10, 15 minutes, sometimes even longer. Don't try to force them out because they're not going to want to do it. Give them that chance. Also, children with Down syndrome, they may get really upset. They may be the ones that smack at you or to pinch you. You know, pay attention to this. Don't let them do that, but don't get angry when it does happen. The next disability I want to talk to you about are children that have cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy, which I'm going to call CP from now on, affects motor skills to children. They're like their hands may drop. They may not be able to walk so well. When you're working with a child with CP, you really got to pay attention to the surface of what you're walking on. Because they struggle with walking, make sure you tell them, okay, there's a drop here, there's a rock here, there's a step, and guide them to that. Also, you may have to help them eat. You may have to, put food on in chopsticks or on a spoon and give it to them. They may not have that ability, but pay attention, they may. Another thing that's important is if you're doing an activity that involves them using their hands, like drawing a picture or gluing something, you're probably going to have to give them a little bit more help. Don't overdo it. Make sure you help them as much as they need, but let them do as much work as they can. Another disability you may come across is if you have a child that is blind or that has a visual impairment. When you're working with them, something that's very important is to pay attention to their surroundings. They can't see a chair that's sitting here. They can't see the step or even the door. You have to guide them. Make sure they don't run into stuff. So offer your arm, let them put your arm through here and walk and stop. Talking to them the whole time because that's how they sense the world around them, is through talking. Tell them, okay, there's a step coming up, or watch out for this chair over here. Can you hear it? Making sure that giving them as much of an experience in their surroundings as you can. Another disability that you may come across is if someone is deaf. They can't hear anything. They don't know what you're saying. Typically, these children are still very smart, very intelligent. They just can't hear anything. What you need to do is find a way to communicate. If they do sign language, find out a sign that you can talk to them. If you can't speak sign language, that's fine. Then get a board or a piece of paper and write to them so that you can talk to them. Because it's important to understand what they want and they can write back to you, and it's important for them to understand what you're trying to tell them. Now I want to talk to you about your child's safety. Your child's safety is the most important thing for the entire week of camp. Whether it's them being safe or whether it's keeping other children safe. Sometimes you're going to run into a situation where a child may be angry and may be trying to hurt another child. Or they may put themselves into a position to get hurt and they're angry or they're upset and they don't want to get out of that situation. Though, if that happens, as a last resort, you need to do something to remove them from that situation, from that problem that can result in someone getting hurt, because you don't want your child or any other child to be hurt. I want to show you a hole or a way to kind of move back the situation and help that child, but as a last resort. And I would recommend that you get a staff member with more experience to do this as well. Okay, now we're going to show you the hole. Remember, I said this is a last resort activity, and for example, I would really push you to ask your staff member for help with this. So if your child is kind of angry and upset and they're in a dangerous situation, what you want to do is come up from behind and go lower, because you want to watch their head, because if they headbutt you, it's going to hurt. What you do, you put your arms around, you kind of push, and then hold both wrists and put your knee here, your elbow here, and kind of make sure you don't fall. You kind of rest your head against their shoulder, making sure that they can't hit you with their head, and just hold them until they calm down and once you've moved them from their situation.
That's all from me. Thank you guys so much for sacrificing a week of your holiday to come serve these kids and love on them unconditionally. We're very excited for the amazing week that you're about to have, and welcome to the Bring Me Hope family.